Happy Friday, Pilates friends. Today we are going to talk about rollovers and rolling exercises. It's Friday fundamentals, so we're just going to break these down a little bit. So today I have with me just a 4-pound weighted ball, and I have my Pilates mini ball. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started with just a little bit of bridging and some breathing. Okay, I'll go ahead and lay all the way down. Let's just take our inhale through the nose, exhale out the mouth, connecting the rib cage together in the front, releasing the shoulders away from your ears. Inhaling and exhaling. And let's bridge a little bit. Inhale, exhale, curl the tailbone and roll towards your shoulders. Inhale at the top and exhale, roll back down. Let's do 2 more this way. And 1 more, nice and easy, just warming up the spine here. Okay, so when we do a rolling exercise or rollover exercises, a rollover, remember, is just this way and back down, and we do a few different forms in the Pilates classical mat work, but it can be really challenging to get your legs over your head just by using your abdominals. Sometimes it takes practice in spinal mobility, sometimes just understanding how the exercise is supposed to go. Sometimes it's in the arm strength and support. Okay, so first we are going to talk about just this pelvic tilt. So our rollover exercises are like doing a bridge with no feet. Okay, so it's considered an open chain exercise because our feet are not connected. So we really need to know this pelvic tilt movement. So when you're in just laying down with your feet down, you notice your hip bones and pubic bone are about level. That's neutral spine. When we're doing rollover exercises, we want to be in a posterior tilt. So our pubic bone becomes higher than our hip bones in space, and our lower back and our sacrum kind of push down into the mat, so there's no space at all. Okay, and then we'll come back down. So if you want, you can just practice that pelvic tilt. It is not a full bridge, it's a pretty teeny movement. Okay, if that is hard for you to find, if you have SI joint issues or low back issues, we need to maybe create that length first before you can mobilize into it. So we're gonna take our ball, we're gonna lift up our hips, and we'll put the ball at about our sacrum. Okay, not quite down to the tailbone, but between the tailbone and the low back. And we'll keep our feet on the ball. And from here, we're just going to rock back. And it should almost be easier to find that tilt of the pubic bone higher than the hip bones. And maybe you have a lot more glute engagement here. If you're tight in the front of your legs like I am, you'll feel this stretch in your quads. Okay, so I like to hold this for quite a few breaths. Okay, you can play with it also. Rock into a neutral pelvis, okay, roll into your posterior tilt. Use your breath so you can start to feel that connection of the abdominals in this movement. Okay, the next step, then you can take your legs up off the floor and hold this, and you may feel that your pressure into the ball changes. We want to keep this posterior tilt of the pelvis, so when you come up, there's a lot more abdominal connection that you need to have. You can bring your knees in towards you, which will help you learn that lengthening as well. And then after you do that, try and reach the knees away from your face without changing the position of your spine. If this is hard for you, you may not be ready yet for rollover exercises, and that's okay. Anytime we do a rollover, you'll work pelvic tilt or hang out on your ball. Okay, so let's just keep holding that here, inhaling and exhaling. Okay, and relax. And then you can come down. Okay, take the ball out and let's try another pelvic tilt. hopefully it will feel a little bit more fluid for you to do that movement. Okay, what else do we need in our rollover is hamstring length, okay? Since as our legs pull over, you can do it in a chair position, but ideal is your hamstring length. So we can stretch our hamstrings, okay? If you have a band, I didn't bring my band over, but you can put the band around your foot and hold that stretch, breathing into it. Okay, and let's switch sides here. Okay, this is just nice and easy tutorial. If you need more stretching, you can always hold it for longer, or you can pause the video. Okay, my hands have been pretty tight lately from all this driving I do. So if I were doing this not on video, I would be holding my hamstring stretches a lot longer. Okay, so that will be something else you can do. Okay, next, you will need hip flexor engagement. So hip flexors are, besides your abdominals, are what's pulling your legs over. So we can engage our hip flexors in isolation. Again, using our ball, we can put same side hand on the ball or two hands on. We'll start in a chair position. Take an inhale, and on your exhale, push your leg into the ball as much as your shoulders are pushing into the ball. And that will give us the hip flexor engagement and a little more oblique and abdominal engagement. And breathe into it. Try and slowly increase the intensity as you hold it. You do want to try and get to a smaller angle than this 90 degrees at the hip to really get all the fibers of your hip flexor. Okay, let's relax that one, and let's do our second side. You may find that your sides are different, and that's okay. Find your chair position, find your hands on the ball, and let's go ahead and push in. And let's just inhale and exhale. And then slowly build your intensity as you do this. Let's go one more breath cycle. And relax. Okay, and what else you need for your rollovers is the shoulder and arm connection, so that you can use those for support and maybe even a little bit of a lunge in the beginning. Okay, and so we did some of this stuff on the foam roller, which is really good. Raise your arms, so if you want to lay on your foam roller for this, you can, but you'll protract or separate your shoulder blades, and then bring your shoulder blades together behind you. It's a little hard when you're laying on them, but go ahead and try and exaggerate that. Okay, you can wiggle them back. I'm not really on a slippery surface, but so I have to lift up my body to get my shoulder blades to my spine, but I'm gonna leave them there, and then I'm gonna open my arms out to this side, close. So not a ton of movement in the shoulder blades. Almost feels like your spine's in extension, and that's okay. Okay, let's just open and close maybe one more time. And then from here, I'm gonna keep that shoulder blade connection to my spine, lower my arms, and press the top of my arms down into the table. And you might feel your rib cage lift up off of the table, and that's fine. Go ahead and relax. And just press down. All the way from the top of the shoulder to your hand is pressing down. Get that connection. Okay, and that will mimic the movement in your rollover. Let's do one more. And release. Okay, you can relax your shoulder blades. So when we do the rollover, your shoulder blades will not be that close together, but you'll still want to imagine that same connection. So let's try our rollover from a chair position. Okay, so let's go knees over hips, ankles towards each other. Let's inhale and exhale. Let's pull our knees in, and then as we pull our knees in, we'll press our arms down, engage our abdominals, and roll over. Slowly roll back down, and coming down to chair position. And you may need to just start with the knees pulling in and feel how that tilts your pelvis. That is fine, okay? Otherwise, let's pull the knees in, tilt the pelvis, press the arms down, and roll. Should be a good spine stretch. Roll back down. Okay, from here, the next one, we're going to try not to initiate by so much hip flexion and pulling our knees in, but we'll start with the pelvic tilt into posterior tilt. Okay, so start there. That requires a lot of arms. Oh, and here's my chair position. Then bring the knees in and continue the rollover. It's harder to do that way. Okay, but then you get your deep core muscles active first. Also really beneficial to use an exhale for this. Okay, inhale, exhale, tilt your pelvis first, then bring the knees, then roll over, pressing through the arms, and back down. Whew. And let's try our full rollover. Okay, so legs extend towards 90 degrees, point through your toes. We'll start again with the legs pulling in and using the weight of the legs to rock the pelvis back. Okay, hold, roll back down. Let's do one more this way. Point your toes, flex at the hip, bringing the legs in, and use that to tilt the pelvis and roll through your spine. Control down. Now we'll try what we did with our previous exercise. Curl the tailbone first, try and get that butt lift up, so your toes up to the ceiling, and then the scoop up and over. Oh, I landed in my strap. And then roll back down, one vertebra at a time. Okay, when you initiate from the pelvic tilt, it's a lot more arm work, so you may feel tons of work in your tricep. That's totally fine. Okay, inhale, exhale, curl the tailbone, flex at the hip for the legs, roll over, and roll back down. It may not look like a lot of difference on the video, but you should really feel the difference. All right, and that is our rollover breakdown. Any questions, feel free to message me. I'll see you tomorrow.